Hi, my name is Alyssa Miller and I like to talk about movies. And today we are talking about Terrifier 3. That's right, the Damien Leone, super indie slasher series has a third movie, and it's a Christmas movie, which is shocking. I'm so surprised that this is a Christmas horror movie, but I'll take it. I'll take anything. Of course, these movies kind of kickstarted and got super popular simply because you have a killer clown killing people, and what more could you want? I could tell you what you want, really amazing practical gory kills. And again, that's what this movie has to offer, even when it was a super, super low budget movie. And you gotta appreciate the craft. And it's the skill of Leone, fully, who is the writer and director behind this series, who's really making the budget work for him and the limitations also work. And you love to see someone succeeding. You really love to see it. Also, before we go too much further, if you could leave a like and subscribe, that would really help me out. And it also makes you look just a little bit cuter, just a little bit. So Leone found massive success with the franchise after he released his 2016 indie slasher, Terrifier. The movie's pretty simple. It's just a clown terrorizing two women on Halloween night. It was made for $35,000, which where's the budget? It's insane. I've had friends who are budgeting their short films, and their short films, which are 17-minute movies, are $20,000. Okay, I know it's crazy to think of making movies and the budgets that go behind them, but the budget does matter to the overall quality that you can pretty much get. And so you have to be a very smart director to allocate that money properly. And Leone's fucking doing this shit. Terrifier becomes a cult classic because it's this shock fest of a movie.
Are you gonna go back in and see more of the movie now?
Probably, yeah.
And so in 2020, his sequel to that movie, Terrifier 2, is released. This had a bigger budget of $250,000, and everything made it to the screen. In the movie, it rocked the world for a little bit, yeah. Simply because it was a gore fest. People were rumored to be throwing up and leaving the movie in shock, they just saw Salo for the first time. And they were just this is an atrocity. I'm having a hard time existing in this space. And that's the biggest compliment you can give a horror movie, that people were so scared and so grossed out that they couldn't finish it. Are you kidding me? And this kind of media attention did amazing things for the franchise, which is why Terrifier 3 got a $2 million budget. Now we're working, kids. Now we're cooking. I mean, let's actually think about it. When is the last time you saw a truly shocking movie in theaters? And I'm not talking Megalopolis, shockingly bad movies. I'm talking about gore-fest, shock factor movies. People kind of like this stuff. I mean, sure, we all like our A24 neon horror films, but we want to be shocked. I mean, look at Longlegs. We all wanted to be scared. We wanted something to feel a visceral reaction to, especially in this year where we're just feeling a little hollow, feeling a little rough. But beyond the practical gore fest that these movies are, what really made this movie stand out in the cultural lexicon is the central killer, Art the Clown. He's such a simple character that is easily recognizable, and people instantly recognize. They're oh, that's the killer clown. I love that. And it also helps that when Terrifier came out in 2016, there were a bunch of clowns terrorizing people in the real world. Do you guys remember that? Because I do. I remember it viscerally because I was working my first retail job, and I was working the floor by myself, and I saw a bunch of clowns crossing the street, and I was no, I'm not dealing with this today. No. But Art has kind of almost reached the status of horror icons next to Jigsaw and Jason and all of our favorites. Freddy Krueger. I love Freddy Krueger. I'm not gonna say that because he did molest children, so I don't love Freddy Krueger. Not in theory. I'm taking a big hole for myself. Jeez Louise. While Art has notably contributed to the success of this franchise, I do think a bigger budget gives Leone the chance to create bigger kills, which I really do think he pulled off in this movie. However, just because you can do more does not mean you should always do more, Don't get me wrong, this is not a bad movie. This is a really fun watch. Except for when we're in the parts where Art is not on screen, which is tough because you want to root for the main character, Sienna, who's the returning final girl from the last movie. And yet you're stuck in this house with her and this insufferable 13-year-old who idolizes her to the point where I'm just there's something not right with this child. And you're just can we get the ball rolling? Can we see something else? And unfortunately, there's only like a few times in the Sienna plotline where I'm like, okay, now I feel like the story is going somewhere. But then there are other times where we are watching her paint makeup onto this child that doesn't look that good. And literally it's like a 5-minute scene of her putting makeup on a child. And I'm like, okay, but why? And there's like no point. There's literally no point. Like somebody in my life. And I think the problem here is that Leone does not know how to write amazing dialogue. It's a very B-movie kind of dialogue where people are just, every time they open their mouth, it's exposition. Like, why do we need it? Like, what's the point? If your characters are going to talk, they better be saying something that, like, either gives them, like, development or moves the plot forward. And that's, like, the worst part about, like, the plot line with Sienna and Gabby. It's just, like, everything is melodramatic, and because it's so melodramatic, it just gets a little boring. Like, nothing's happening. And you can't have a story that does that, unfortunately. Like, the point of writing a really good screenplay is, like, you are setting up the end of a scene to keep people on the edge of their seat and expecting something great to happen in the next scene. This movie is like, you can't wait for the family parts to be over so you can get back to Art the Clown. But then before Art the Clown can murder people, you're back with the family and you're just like, oh my God. And so like, you just want each scene to contribute something to the story to keep the audience like hooked in there. Be that building on the lore, building on the, like the relationships, building on like the personal development. I'm literally telling you how to write a movie basically. And like when you have a 2 million feature film that is the third movie in your franchise, I feel like you should be at the point where like the lore is established and that you could just like really bust out a good movie. Again, this is not a bad movie by any measure. I mean, the visuals, the location, the cinematography, the performance of Art the Clown, they are amazing. Like, they are really good, you guys. But it's like the dialogue and my goodness, like the whole family part, which makes up half the movie, is just really a tough sell. It really is a tough sell. Which reminds me, we gotta talk about the plot. So this is a spoiler warning. I am going to break down the entire plot of Terrifier 3. If you do not want this movie to be spoiled for you, I would highly recommend that you go check it out in your local theater or wait till it gets on like Paramount Plus, Peacock, or Shudder. If you really want a good streaming service for like your best horror movies, Shudder is amazing. But yes, I'm not sponsored. This is not a sponsorship thing. I'm just saying they're a really great streaming platform. But if you're here to stay, I'm so excited, and let's get into it. So the movie opens with a mom waking up in the middle of the night to her daughter standing in her doorway, and she's like, there's somebody on the roof. The mom puts her kid to bed and it's like, there's nobody on the roof, just like go back to bed. And the mom goes back to her bed and she's talking to her husband and she's like, oh, why are you not helping me out with the children? Like, it's really kind of shitty that you are being a shitty husband. And the homeboy is not moving. And I'm like, oh, he's already dead. I love this because I did not like him the moment I met him and I still do not like him now. Turns out the motherfucker is alive and he was just ignoring his wife. Anyways, they are spooning. Cool, I guess. Whatever. And the little girl hears Santa on the roof, or Santa in her mind. So she goes downstairs to go see if she can find him. And oh my God, there's Santa. But wait, that's not Santa. Turns around, oh my God, it's a clown. No, thank you. So the little girl's like, ooh, that's not right. And she goes and hides. And then Art pulls out an axe a la Silent Night, Deadly Night style. Is like, I'm about to go be a family annihilator. And so he chops up the little boy off screen, thank God. And then it goes to the parents' room and just starts butchering the husband. And the entire time, the wife is just asleep. She's just like, me, 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 me. At some point, eventually, she wakes up and you're just like, girl, did you not hear the squishy sound for the past like 2 minutes? And she is horrified. And so she's like, I gotta go.
You want to know what? No, I am going to leave.
So she closes the door on Art as she's running away. He axes that door away and then he puts his face through it. It's giving The Shining. Cool. Love. She finds her butcher child and she's like, oh. Whoa. She runs downstairs. Art catches her and just like clobbers half her face off. R.I.P. She will be missed. The little girl is nowhere to be found and Art's like, I'm going to go enjoy some cookies and milk that have been left out for me. And he does it. Eventually, he does find the little girl, and he gives the creepiest frickin' smile a clown can give. Boom, title card. Oh, we're flashbacking 5 years ago. So the cop is entering the last location of Terrifier 2, and he finds Art's severed head. Oh, no, his head severed from his body. So he finds his headless body, and he's like, oh, that that seems not normal. So he's calling for backup and he's looking around and he turns around. Boom, the body is alive and it chokes the man out. And he is dead as well. So RIP to the cop. You will be missed. Over at an asylum, which I guess still exists, a guard is hearing some noises and he's like, I don't think those noises should be happening. And he finds Victoria from Terrifier 1 and the end of Terrifier 2. He finds her munching on a guard with Art's head that she gave birth to in the last movie. This seems crazy, you guys, and it's gonna get pretty normal very soon. Like, don't worry. I feel like these movies start crazy, get mellow, and then end crazy. So just like, that's the roller coaster we're on. What you need to know now is that Victoria is now possessed by the little pale girl from the last movie, and her and Art are a team, and they are here to munch on people. So Victoria ends the guard's life. Art is reunited with his body, like his head is reunited with his body. They just kind of fuse together. He's like a magical demon character. That's all you need to know. They're both demon characters is all you need to know. So they kill the guard. They go back to their like abandoned house in the woods, whatever. Victoria's like, I'm not loving my look, so I'm gonna go end my life in the bathtub. And so she does. And then Art's like, I'm gonna go sit upstairs in my rocking chair in the attic and look at the full moon and just kind of vibe here. Very, very Black Christmas style, you know? Then we cut forward 5 years. So now we're 5 years in the future after the events of Terrifier 2. Sienna is coming out of the hospital. She's getting picked up by a guy named Greg. Greg, do we know him? Probably not, no. All you need to know is that Greg is Sienna's aunt's husband. I don't know why that sounded so complicated in my head and came out so easily. All right, sure. Greg takes Sienna back to the house and Gabby is ecstatic to see Sienna. Gabby is his like 12-year-old niece and she's obsessed with Sienna because like she's like, oh, she's a hero. She like slayed demons. And Sienna's like, I'm truly traumatized, but I'm really happy to hang out with you. And all Gabby wants to do is fucking hang out with Sienna. Cool, I love that. It's very sweet, it's very wholesome. Back at the abandoned house, 2 contractors show up because they're going to bulldoze the house, I guess. I guess the city's doing it. I don't really know who's doing it. But they're there to inspect the house and see what's up. One goes upstairs, one goes downstairs. One finds Victoria and he's like, oh, shoot, there's a dead body here. Oh, psych, Victoria is alive, and kills the guy. He will be missed. Upstairs, the contractor finds Art and he's like, what the heck is this? Art bounces to life and he's like, oh, I'm ready to murder. He nails the guy's hands and starts like I'm sorry, it's one of the craziest things, but he unwraps his head basically. So like and the whole time Victoria's watching and she pleasures herself with a knife. It's a sight to see, I tell ya. Think of Victoria very much as like a deadite where she's just doing some like heinous crimes to herself because she has like a demon in her body. Okay, so like remember, this is the main duo. I think Art serves Victoria, i.e. the pale little girl. I couldn't tell you because we don't see Victoria again for another like 45 minutes. No, an hour and 45 minutes. Let's be real. This is a 2-hour long movie. Did not need to be 2 hours. So what's Sienna been up to? Nothing. Moving on. No, that's not true. She's been hanging out with Gabby and they're gabbing, whatever. And again, Sienna's traumatized. And she's like, let me call my brother. Her brother's in college. He went to college in the same town where all the brutal murders happened 5 years ago. And I'm like, bro, go out of state. So moving on from Sienna, because like literally she has nothing going on for her. But Art has plans. He is ready to murder people. Yes, the time has come. Remember how I said this is a Christmas movie? Yeah. He walks by a bar and he sees a man dressed as Santa and he's like, I gotta go say hello to Santa Claus. Duh. He goes in, he says hi. Things are okay for a little bit until he pees on Santa's leg. And Santa's like, oh no, that's not. And the barkeep is like, okay, I gotta escort this guy out. And everyone just starts bullying Art. Like, fair, he did something very heinous. But like, I don't think you need to beat somebody up because they seem like not all there, you know? Art does one of my favorite kills to date, which is that he just pulls out a gun and shoots people. Like the man who is known for being the Terrifier just pulls out a gun and shoots someone. I'm like, you didn't see it coming. And that's what I find pretty spectacular about this franchise. Now that Art is dressed like Santa Claus, he is ready to prowl the town. So Sienna and Gabby are at the mall shopping for Christmas gifts for everybody, and then Sienna's like having a really bad time. Also, I want to briefly talk about this shopping like sequence because it is atrocious. Like, it is the most atrocious set I've ever seen in my entire life, because there's like 4 clothing racks and like 2 perfumes that are like atrociously named. Like, it's just so Sienna's shopping and she has like this traumatizing flashback, and she stops and she sees Art and she's like, whoa, what is he doing here? But we don't have time for this. Art has a job. He has to clock in for the Santa photo op. Yeah, no, this part's also very upsetting simply because like he's inviting a child to come up and like sit on his lap, and I'm like, no, nobody should sit on his lap. Also, he did not clean the pee off of it. A little girl comes up and Art reaches into his bag. The mom stopped paying attention. You're like, oh, he's gonna kill a child right now. Okay, that's fine. No, he just pulls out like a toy and you're like, whoa. I'm shocked. Did not expect this. And then all the other children are like, we want toys, and none of their parents are paying attention. So they all like bombard Art, and he does give them toys. Like, it's a very wholesome moment. It's very humanizing. And I'm like, whoa, Art, what's happening? Sienna and Gabby have already left. Sienna has gone to the college to see her brother, and she's like, I saw the clown. Like, we need an attack plan. And her brother's just like, I really don't want to talk about this. And she's like, we are going to need a plan, dude. And he's like, okay, I guess if you got the sword, you could defeat evil. Evil has an antithesis. You were put here to be like an angel. Guys, the lore does not make sense to me, nor will it ever. And I hate that about this movie. Like, if you're gonna have horror lore, make it simple. Like, Jason's whole thing is like, I'm gonna seek revenge for my mother. Freddy Krueger's thing is like, I'm going to terrorize the children of the parents who burned me alive because I was touching their children. Like, okay, like, we don't want to root for him, but like the logic is there. So cool. Sienna's mission is that she has to get a fucking sword and kill Art eventually. Back at the mall, Art is getting escorted out because guess what? He's not real Santa Claus and he's being a menace. Like, let's be real. Like, if you saw some random guy dressed as Santa and he wasn't the Santa that was hired to be around your children, like, that is terrifying. This is a clown dressed as Santa Claus. It's a guy dressed as a clown dressed as Santa Claus. Like, that's upsetting. And to be fair, the guards are escorting Art out, but they're also being like absolute jerks about it. Again, Art is being bullied left and right by people. And so he like leaves one last gift. A little boy finds the gift, unwraps it. He's like, oh, this is a cool box, opens it. It's a bomb. And the entire set explodes. Like, child death isn't funny. But at the same time, you saw this man being so nice to a bunch of children. And then he goes, yeah, I think I'm going to murder everybody. And he does with a bomb. It's very reminiscent of like Sinbad in that one Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas movie where he's like a postal delivery service guy and he's like, I have a bomb. And like 3 out of 4 times it's not real. But then one time he actually does have a bomb. And I'm like, guys, let's not send bombs to the mail, please.
Just a sick world we're living in. Sick people.
So Sienna finds a sword. She goes home. She finds out that Gabby read her like secret private notebook that has all her traumas in it, which why would you write that down for a child to find? Like, put that somewhere safe. And she and Gabby are having like a moment together, and she finds out about the bombing at the mall, and she is spiraling. She's actually spiraling right now. She's like, oh, he's coming to kill us. Like, we got to get out of town. Well, we got to go. And everyone's like, no, you're being a little woo-woo. And she's like, I swear to fucking God, if you guys die, it is on you. So Sienna goes to lay down after she calls her brother and she's like, you need to get over here. I'm sending Greg. Greg goes to get her brother from the college. At the college, Art is already there, rocking some cool sunglasses and his beautiful Santa suit and his little dangly beard that he ripped off a man, which is a very upsetting visual to continue to see. At the college, Sienna's little brother's roommate is hooking up with this girl who has a true crime podcast that like covers Art the Clown's murder. And she's like, I just want to see Art the Clown. And so she gets her wish because as she's hooking up with the guy in the shower with no shower shoes on, girl, you're gonna get a fungal infection. Art the Clown like busts in with a chainsaw and kills them. And I do love how he kills the roommate because it's very reminiscent of the first kill in Terrifier where he just saws a person in half, but this is like the dude version of it. So it's very respectful. I love it. Please, I love. Greg is also at the college now and he calls Sienna's little brother and he's like, where are you? And the little brother's like, oh, I'm coming out. But it sounds weird and you're like, suspicious. I don't know how she did it, but Sienna ended up falling asleep. She wakes up, it's 2 a.m. and she hears some shit talking going on downstairs. She opens the door and she's like, moi? You talk about moi? She turns the corner. It ain't her aunt. Nope, it's Victoria. She's back. And this is how you know the movie's about to get a little crazy. So just bear with me as I try to explain the lore that was barely explained to me. Sienna gets knocked out by Art. When she comes back, she is tied to a chair. Across from her is her aunt, who's very much alive. On the wall, Greg's poor beheaded body is nailed to it, and his head is now the angel on top of the tree or the star, depending on what you do with your own, like, traditions. And in front of them is a bloody wrapped gift, which we can only assume is of a head, but to who? Is it Gabby? Is it her little brother? We'll figure it out. Either way, it's not the best case scenario. And if you didn't understand the biblical references, Victoria puts a crown of thorns on Sienna's head, and that shit does look tough. Like, sometimes when you see it like remade and remastered in like a lot of biblical art of Jesus being crucified, it doesn't look that bad, but when you see it being put on Sienna, that shit looks like it hurts. Art unwraps the gift that's sitting between them, and it's a skull that has been like pretty cleaned off by the rats that are also in it, and they're just like, that's Gabby. And the aunt's like, no, that's not Gabby. I would have known if it was Gabby. And I'm like, girl, how would you have known? It's a skull at this point. It's like saying that I would know my partner's skull. Ow, like literally how? And so because the aunt was like, I spit on your grave, Victoria shoves a pipe down her throat, and then Art puts the rats down the thing. This whole thing got me. Ugh. But anyways, they just rat torture her, and like they slit her neck, and the rats come out of the neck, and it's ugh. That is probably like the worst kill in this entire movie. Like that was the one that got me. There's a lot of rats in this movie. Like I'm skipping over all like the rat points because like I don't feel like we need to know about it, but there's a lot of rats in this movie. I hope they were well compensated. So yeah, after this, Victoria ends up pulling out Gabby. She's like, here she is. She is alive, unharmed, but we're gonna murder her right now. And they go to murder her, and Sina's like, no, my niece. Again, I don't understand the point of Gabby, you guys, whatever. And then Gabby's like, wait, no, I have to give my favorite aunt her like final gift before we die. And Victoria is like, okay, why? I couldn't tell you why. But they end up giving Sienna the gift. Before Sienna can open it, Art just like smashes her hands to bits. So she's looking like pulverized chicken right now as she's opening this gift, which is really tough because like her hands don't work anymore. But she opens the gift, and as soon as she opens it, she's like, pulverized hands, don't know her, sling, like pulls out the sword, stabs Art, kills Victoria by beheading her. Gabby's like huddled by her mom going like, are you still alive? Wake up. I'm like, girl, read the scene. But we are now in like the final girl fight. So basically Sienna is just like fighting Art, who has a chainsaw. So it's a sword versus a chainsaw. It's a pretty good fight. It goes on for a while, but Sienna gets the upper hand and she stabs Art to the wall. As she's about to kill him, I guess Victoria's blood opens the portal to hell, and Gabby slips into it, and she's hanging on by a thread. Sienna lets go of Art with her sword. She runs over to get Gabby. For some reason, she gives Gabby the handle part and holds onto the blade. Like, is there nothing else around you that would be better? Believe it or not, this doesn't work. Like, Sienna's pulling Gabby up, but it's Gabby who slips and falls. Sienna lets go of the sword. They all fall to hell. The portal closes, and then Sienna looks up. Art is also gone. So she's just like, what was this for? And as she looks at her hands, they heal. And so I'm like, oh, wait, what does this mean? Like, is she now like fully an angel? For me, I don't know what this visual is supposed to represent because like I already know that she's like this heavenly figure. I saw it when you put the crown of thorns on her. The lore is heavy, yet it doesn't make a lot of sense because like the writing isn't there. Yeah, you know, like we don't ever see anything being sluiced to like figure out like what art is or what the surrealness of it all or the supernatural evidence is that leads them to the conclusion that not serenity. God, it just makes sense to say serenity. That Sienna is like an angel because it's not there. It's frustrating to be like, did I miss something? Because I was bored and not paying attention. But no, she's just straight up in the trenches and she looks up and she's like, Gabby, I will find you. So we know in the next movie, Sienna's going to hell. And Art lives to see another day. The Terrifier 3. I will say, it was a bit of a ride. There were some kills that were pretty impressive, but I think they mostly happened in the beginning of the movie. Also, the entire fight scene with Sienna and Art is also pretty great at the end, but I feel like this movie is one of those movies that would be better watched as like a supercut. And again, I think it's because the dialogue just doesn't serve the story. There is lore, and as a girl who does love horror lore, who will learn it through the Wikipedia, memorize it front and back, so that way like I'm well educated on like what the heck is happening in a franchise, I just find that the lore is not sufficiently like detailed in this. We don't understand how we got from point A to point B to point C, D, E, F. We just went from point A to D, and I'm like, we missed a few steps. And I think this is a thing that he could build upon, but I also feel like you don't need that much lore. Like, and this is a problem I'm experiencing with a lot of movies, is that they want to focus on too many things rather than focusing on like the three main things that need to be told in this movie. Like, if your thematic element is family units, then like try to showcase like the family trying to stick together and showcase that they're at their weakest when they're like split apart. Like that would have been really interesting to see. Instead, we just kind of get people meandering for an hour and a half while Art is living his best life. But again, I will emphasize that this is a very worthy movie of watching because, again, the cinematography, the visuals, the homages to classic horror movies that have Christmas elements in them is there, and it's present, and it looks fantastic. And filmmaking's hard like that, you know? It's like the visuals matter, but so does the story. You can't have one outweighing the other. I mean, you can. It just doesn't make for a perfect movie. And so that is why I am giving this movie a C+. Yeah, I would love to see how Terrifier 4 turns out. I want to see if like Leone's writing skills get a little bit better, if he's able to make a family unit more engaging. Also, I just want to see what his hell looks like. I think that'd be pretty fucking dope. But that was my take on Terrifier 3. If you have any other thoughts, I would love to hear about them in the comments. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. I would love to have you come back and see more of the videos that I upload weekly. But thanks so much for checking this video out. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!